Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
So we are going to jump right into our guest. This year, it was about the evolution of entrepreneurship. We know what's happening in the political climate. We know that there are things and factors that, are causing people to have fear. And so it's important to bring people of color who've been at it, who've evolved, who've pivoted, and certainly are doing some great things nationally. And so when I got a chance to really say, who did I want? Marc Brooks was number one.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was. Marc Brooks was number one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were, because it's nice, because I'll tell you all a little story about Marc later, but and how we met and how I'm super proud and that I get to be here to really talk about, the amazing things that you've been able to accomplish. So just knowing our days in the sports arena that most people may not know. But Marc is a successful entrepreneur, so that's why he's here. He is a collaborative visionary and recognized as a leader. And so Marc E. Brooks is also second-generation entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Hyde Park Hospitality, a privately held hospitality company that specializes in food service management, airport concessions, lounge operations, and customer excellence advisory services. What is so unique about Marc is he knows how to recognize talent as well as attract and develop diverse team members at all levels of the organization, from management to frontline employees. And we know our frontline employees are very important. Under Marc's leadership, he has grown over 900% since 2018, with more than 1,000 employees across 20 states. Just want to take a breath for that. Take a breath. Hyde Park Hospitality was recently named by Crain's as one of the 50 fastest growing companies in Chicago, and we have him on Black Businesses Matter. Hey, I like that. So, yeah. And you guys, I got an audience today, so I'm excited to have this energy. Marc is skilled. He has a successful track record at developing strategic partnership and negotiating complex multi-party contracts, often bringing together public and private alliances targeted at providing opportunities in underserviced markets and employment to people of color. Most notably, Marc has successfully helped secure, and it's important that I say this, complex, highly coveted contracts alongside Aramark. These are big brands. Meta, Triple B Hospitality, and Diageo partnered with Hilton Hotels to retain a 10-year F&B management contract at the Hilton Hotel at O'Hare Airport. I'm going to just pause right there because there's so much that I can say, but we're going to dig right on in. Because when I saw this, I was like, yeah, and I know Marc Brooks, yeah. So before we dive into this, you're a second-generation entrepreneur, I want to know, who is Marc as a little boy? Like, who is Marc the little boy?
It's funny. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. One, thank you for coming. I didn't have a chance to say hello to everybody, but thank you so much for coming. Appreciate your physical presence. You could be doing a lot this evening.
Yes.
The fact that you're here means a lot. The irony is that, hence the name Hyde Park. Here we are in Hyde Park, right?
Yeah.
I literally grew up 4 blocks from here.
Wow.
Right at 48th and Kenwood. And Hyde Park had such a imprint on who I am as a person and as a young adolescent that I named my company after it, right? Mm-hmm. So that obviously speaks to the pride that I have for this community and neighboring communities. But yeah, I mean, I was just a regular old kid, you know, like we played outside. The kids today don't do that. They do this.
Right.
Well, I was running up and down these blocks, playing football, baseball, softball, basketball. There was a park down the street. We were in the park every day. So, I mean, we were in the streets in a different way, in a very positive way, collaborating with other kids, building with other kids, playing with other kids, doing kid stuff, you know.
And so as a little boy, right, growing up in Hyde Park, which is predominantly affluent, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were at 40. We on 47. 47 didn't look like this when I grew up, right? I don't know if you all know. 47 did not look like this. There was Gill's Liquor down the street. There was a barber shop. There was all kind of stuff.
That's right.
The Harold's. There was a little candy shop. So, I mean, we were in Hyde Park, but we lived in a very modest townhome. You know, my father came from a single parent. My mom came from a very modest background. We didn't grow up with money, but we grew up with, you know, family and love and what have you. And my dad happened to be inspired by other entrepreneurs, which kind of gave him that bug early on to want to become an entrepreneur. But that didn't happen until later in life.
Wow.
So we grew up very low to kind of upper, middle class, if you will.
Yeah, working
yeah,
class,
no, we were on 48th Street. These houses get big on 49th, and
that's true.
So we were on 48th on a modest townhome. So it was not only my parents, but it was the immediate parents in the community. Mm-hmm. It was a community that we all shared of. I called everybody in the neighborhood aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
You know, there was no blood running through us, but they were Aunt Nancy, Uncle Neil, et cetera. And there was a lot of pride that happened, a lot of amazing times that happened as my childhood. I went to a public grammar school, Ray. We used to walk to school, you know, back when kids could walk back in the day. Yeah. And then I went to De La Salle High School, you know, so it wasn't like we came from money. We didn't.
It was working, right?
Yeah.
Working class.
Yeah, working class.
Yeah,
all day long.
And having that village.
Yes.
That village.
The village was super important.
That was important. Yeah. And so when you saw, like, as you know, just go to college, right? You went to college here, right? So was entrepreneur, like, when did you get that bug, or was it just always there? So the other thing I did, I played basketball, right? I mean, I was into sports in a big way. Most young boys and girls are, for that matter. I excelled a pretty decent level in basketball. I played in both high school and college. So that was sort of my dedication to something. And through sports, I think sports is so important for kids because I think you learn teamwork, you learn sacrifice, you learn hard work, you learn dedication. And then I instilled that in my kids as well. Both my wife today and my former wife, we were big believers in that. So that kind of set the groundwork of, hey, like, nothing's going to be given to you. You got to work your tail off to get to wherever you're trying to get to, whether it's a championship in basketball or achieving all A's or building a business or whatever. That set the foundation. I think having a father that later in life became an entrepreneur, that didn't happen until I was late high school. Okay.
But I always saw my dad work hard. I would see him always reading things. I would remember in the back of the car, you would see like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and all these periodicals and magazines. And he actually taught in night school as well. So he had that hunger to want to do more. And he was the president eventually became president of a company called Chicago Economic Development Corporation, which back in the day was a federally funded organization that provided capital and mainly assistance for small business. So he came across a number of entrepreneurs that they were trying to aid and provide support and guidance to. And I think after seeing a number of deals transpire under that auspice, under that role, I think he got the bug and said, wait a minute, I've seen these entrepreneurs grow and develop. I, too, have that interest and want to do that. And then he eventually did a joint venture with one of the large suppliers at McDonald's at 45th and Racine in the Stockyards area. I think they even still might make the bacon, some of the hamburgers, the buns, et cetera. And McDonald's had a vision to start this minority supplier development program. So my father was lucky enough to be one of the first 5 in, and we used to manufacture the breakfast sausage right here on the south side of Chicago. Wow. And in seeing that deal happen, employing people, a lot of black and brown people of color, to see the job creation, that sort of tipped the scales for me because I had a chance to work with him in various summer jobs. He started me off mowing the lawn outside the building. It wasn't, just coming to the office. He made me earn it the hard way, working on the line with people, working in the warehouse, doing all kind of crazy stuff. But it was, again, going back to that foundation of not going to hand you anything. You got to earn it. You got to put in the work. Yep. So that really seeing him, not just because he was the boss, but seeing him build something, seeing the way he engaged with people and his employees, the way he treated them equally meant a lot to me. That's how I was raised. That's how I believe in carrying out my vision in my business. But that had a lot to do. My mom, she was a longtime employee at Jackson Park. God bless her, in that she finally retired after the 4th attempt. She was a vice president at Jackson Park Hospital. She did almost 50 years there. Wow. You talk about dedication. I mean, people don't stay with employers that long. No. And then she would dibble and dabble in different entrepreneurial ventures. She had a cleaning company that she had for a number of years. So I learned a lot through that as well. So they both were big inspirations. I played with a couple of ideas as a young adolescent. I was a DJ.
You did?
I did DJ.
I didn't know that,
Yeah, DJ Marc, DJ LA Marc. I DJed for a number of years, and back then we didn't have a lot of record stores that have access to house music that wasn't necessarily available then. So I was able to find out that a lot of the records were carried in New York. My father, on one of his travels, actually found a place that carried records. So he gave me the contact. I then reached out to the people, and I was buying, Mainline and You Saved My Life and all the cuts I was getting, and basically buying at $6, $8, $10 and selling them here for $30, right? So that was my.
Did y'all see that profit margin? That was a good profit margin.
So
Mark.
That was before. You may not remember, there's Imports, etc. down in off Plymouth Court. That was a record store. If you was a DJ, you knew Imports, etc.
Oh, okay.
But that was before that was open.
Okay.
And again, we didn't have all the electronic gadgets. We just had the mixer and the 2 turntables and the vinyl, right?
Wow.
So the vinyl was everything. So I dibbled in that. And the other thing is I dibbled and dabbled in was comic books.
Oh.
I still have a collection today
nice.
that, I had my favorites, but I was trying to go to comic book conventions and buy them low, sell them high, just basic kind of economics 101. So those were my first kind of entrepreneurial, informal forays. And then the pivotal point was, seeing my dad do his thing in action. And even though I didn't necessarily know what industry I wanted to be in, I knew that I wanted to create jobs at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this story about Marc because I think it's important. When I shared about being unique talent, we first met just being out, right?
Yep.
Just being out, just, being at the networking events, he talking, I'm talking, we're like this. And there became an opportunity at the Chicago Bulls. And he and, at the time, Brian, your cousin, was like, you need to apply. Like, you need to apply.
That's right.
And he saw talent in me to say, you need to apply, and we gonna tell them you need to hire Larvetta Lofton. Mm-hmm. And I got hired, working for the Chicago Bulls in 1996. And what I will say is, as far as attracting talent, it was such a blessing because I I had a advocacy group in an organization. So I walked in as this little black girl that don't know what to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all these players and all this. And so just having Mark and, just waving at him, and because you were in the sales side of it.
Yep.
And so just like, hey, you good? I'm good. And so just to see that evolution. And so that when I read your bio, I was like, that attracting the talent. That's how we start, literally.
Yeah.
You saw it and I just acted on it.
Yeah.
From that point,
Absolutely, and just trying to put our people on.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. It's the environments you meet people. It's the networking that are important. Obviously, we got to do the work once we get in the positions.
Yep.
Nothing's going to be handed to you, but a lot of times we just need that push, that edge, that encouragement, that support.
Yep.
And that's kind of just who I am, who I've built. I'm sure a number of you all are as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So tell me about right? Because you've had multiple businesses, right?
Yes.
You've had from the wireless cellular side to the restaurant business. When I think of that, oftentimes as entrepreneurs, right, we're multifaceted.
Sure.
But we find that when is it that time to close that chapter to be able to open the next chapter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even allow one to slowly close while you open up the next one. Well,
look, sometimes closing is, unfortunately, sometimes it is out of our control.
Yeah.
A lot of times we want it to be in our control and we want to get ahead of it. Mm-hmm. I've had both instances. Sometimes the market will dictate when it's time to turn the page. We were lucky enough, me and my former partner were lucky enough to be in wireless back we opened our first wireless store back in 97.
Yep.
Right at 51st and Cottage.
It was the best
down
wireless.
Down the street, we had Ameritech Cellular. Remember, it was Cellular One. I'm dating myself here. Cellular One and Ameritech. Back when, every 3 out of 10 people had a cell phone. Today, I'm sure everybody in this room has one.
Correct.
Right? So we were early movers in the wireless space. I opened the first store at 51st and Cottage.
Lake Park, right? Lake Park?
Right at 51st and Cottage. We eventually went to 87th and Dan Ryan, 47th Lake Park, 95th and Stony, then penetrated into Indiana, then eventually St. Louis. So we grew to 27 stores. And over that time frame, a lot changed. There was consolidation and mergers. There was the birth of Verizon before it was Verizon. There was the birth of the iPhone. We remember the old Motorola StarTAC. Mm-hmm. We used to push those, that product, and Nokia and what have you. Yep. So sometimes the market will dictate what happens. But we were early movers in, did very well, grew again to 3 states, 27 locations. And something pivotal happened that kind of a bell went off. And I remember we would spend a lot of time trying to find that unique retail site. Right at, if you've ever been on Roosevelt Road on Canal Street, the development where the Dominick's was, we were there right when that development kicked off. Mm-hmm. And we had a U.S. Cellular store there. Proud of it, right? We negotiated the lease. I remember it's 1232 South Canal Street. Right.
You still remember?
I remember it. And it wasn't 2 years after we opened that U.S. Cellular did a deal with Radio Shack. And guess where there was a Radio Shack?
Next door.
Right in the same development. Literally 3-4 doors down. And not too long ago after that, you had the phone card explosion, and then those became readily available, right? You can get them in Walgreens and places like that. So the writing was on the wall in terms of us, in terms of points of distribution, and how what we thought or historically was a prominent retail location could be infiltrated, could be challenged overnight by a national deal which we had no control over. And at that point, I was like, okay, it might be time to exit, because, again, they took away one of the advantages we have. And one of our advantages was finding real estate, affordable real estate that in our communities, and a national deal like that really infringed on the hard work we were doing on the ground. So eventually we sold that back.
So can you just pause for
yes.
just a second? You said we sold it, because a lot of times we close, but we don't sell.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure
exits are difficult.
Yeah.
Exits
you sold it.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to sell 4 or 5, 6 businesses. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's difficult though.
Yeah.
It's difficult. You got to have something they want. You got to control it. You have to then build a case on why there's value. I remember building a booklet of information that was census data and history on the business and what we've done activation-wise, success we've had in the community. And we were lucky enough, actually through Operation Push, we were lucky enough to meet the CEO of, this is when we had the Verizon stores, because we had Verizon stores also. And we got in front of the CEO, and he eventually pushed us to, I think it was his COO, and said, look, I can get you the meeting. I can't promise you anything. And we came ready. I came with a booklet like 50 pages deep. Wow. What I thought the value was of that business. And, here's the 3, 5 stores that we want to sell. And in the meeting, it probably lasted 30 minutes, but he kind of knew right away that he wanted something we had, and we didn't necessarily have to go through the presentation in detail.
Wow.
But we were still ready.
Wow.
We were equipped. We were ready.
Wow.
We didn't take anything for granted. And they purchased 2 of the 3 locations.
Wow.
At a 7-figure number.
Wow. And you did that on your own, or did you have a private?
No, we didn't have any representation. Eventually, we had lawyers look at our documents, but I didn't go in with a financial firm that represented the sale or anything of that nature.
Wow, that's pretty dope. And those skills, did it come natural for you? Like, did you?
I always say Google for any entrepreneur, and a lot of times that we skip this step. The business plan is everything.
It is.
It feels somewhat kind of rudimentary in doing it, but the reality is we have that vision up here, and a lot of times people need to see it here, tangibly, in a document. So I would always, every venture, I would have a business plan. And that business plan was the foundation of subsequent meetings with CEOs. It was a foundation for when I met with the landlord, so I could get that 1232 South Canal Street location and 15 others, right? It was, if I was trying to get investors, I could take that document to them. It was a foundation. Again, I would tweak it, right? But it was still, you would leverage and use 60, 70% of the business plan. And that stayed with me throughout. I have physical copies of it to this day because that was the foundation that I used throughout the evolution of the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think that Black, when you think about Black businesses, you think about those who have, businesses at home and want to get into that brick and mortar space, right? Should they think about, the exit strategy as being acquired or being sold? Because oftentimes we see the business just closed. There's a sticker on the door, it's closed, it's no longer here. Yeah. We don't see the opportunity that business had value in IP.
Sure.
Like, how can we build that? Is that something that businesses, as we talk about the evolution of entrepreneurship, is that how we need to think about our brick and mortars, like these businesses?
Yeah, yes and no. Look, the strategy could be, I want to hold this business. I want to pass it down the line. I want to grow it. Everybody has their own unique strategy. At the end of the day, though, these are generally for-profit ventures. Right. And, you want to either build it and maintain it, or build it and grow it, or build it and pass it on, or build it and exit. So that is really an individual decision. But I think whatever that trigger point is, it should be thought through. A lot of times I don't think we do, or at least set up the planning to. And I think I think this generation, this is no knock on it, based on information being so readily available. I think it's really an instant gratification, instant reward.
Yeah.
I want the success tomorrow generation.
Yeah.
And the reality is, for me, the fun part of this ride has been the journey. It's been the trek. It's been the ride along the way.
Agree. It's the journey.
Hearing those no's and turning those no's into yeses and having an exit at the end, but creating all those jobs in the interim and seeing employees grow and become managers and directors at other companies. Those are all those wins. If you had just told me there's this, hey, you can open this tomorrow and exit, a year from now, I'd be like, oh, that's not that exciting.
Yeah.
I want all these other steps throughout the evolution of whatever that venture is.
Yeah.
But you dovetailed into that with the initial question of when to exit, and sometimes we don't have control of the exit. Sometimes, like you said, the doors are just closed. Sometimes it's thought through and it's methodical. In this instance, I gave you the market was changing, and we decided to accept the change and move on. Another example would be Park 52 down the street.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't really have the backstory, but
Tell us the backstory on Black Businesses Matter. We love to hear backstories.
It's funny because people, and I got some of my supporters in the house. Carl West kept my lights on. Dave Dave didn't give me no recipes, but Dave was keeping the recipes for himself, But that was a fun ride. I don't know if any of you all came to the restaurant. It was a special place. As a lot of people said, it was our Cheers.
It really was.
And it was ahead of its time. But
you seem to be ahead of your time.
Yeah, no, it was. But what's the saying? I don't necessarily need to be there. As long as I'm having a long time, I don't necessarily be there. What's the phrase?
As long as
having a good time, but not necessarily there a long time.
Okay.
Right. So it's about the quality of the time you're there. That's important. But that being said, I think we did some amazing stuff, and I'm a little biased. That being said, the university was our landlord, and they were giving us a heads up of they're going to start this whole redevelopment, which is there today where Ja Grill is and all. That's the redevelopment, the output that came out of it. But they were supportive. They gave us the option to stay and go in the new development. In their defense, I wasn't excited about recreating the concept in a white box in a new building. Okay. On top of that, I had got my first contract with Aramark. And I wanted to make a concerted effort to build out my food service management team. And in order to do that, I knew I couldn't be spending the time that I needed to spend at the restaurant and building out a new concept. Wow. So I had to leave something behind that hurt from the standpoint of we were doing something special for the community. Yeah. But had I not done that, I wouldn't have 1,200 employees today.
Exactly. And in how many cities?
And in 20 different cities. Yeah. So that was the trade-off, right? Yeah. So selfishly.
Is it selfishly?
No, not really. Right. It was my vision. It's something I wanted to do. But, of course, I wanted to leave something with the community. So, but that was a time where I had to make that hard decision. I knew I couldn't do everything, but I knew I had to concentrate my efforts on building this new venture. Back in 2012 is when I started it, and we literally started with one employee. I was employee number one, I guess. Angela was number 2 or 3, and here we are, 1,200 later. So
when I sit back, I read about it, I see it in my mind. Right, as a company, we go from one person, then you've got 3 people, then you kind of get 10 people, then you kind of stop. Right?
Yeah.
You go from 2 to 1,200. What did that look like? Oof. And because I think what happens is it's not in our minds, right? It's like I can't, and I'm not going to say I can't because I don't use that word, I can't, but it doesn't seem like achievable. Will I have the capacity? Will I have the access, the resources, all the things to make sure that all of these employees are supported and valued? Because you still want to create that culture for them to be seen and valued, because that is something that you care about. But to go from there, like, what steps, to help people to scale at that rate? Like, I know it doesn't have to be at 1,200, but even to triple,
whatever the number is, right?
Whatever the number is.
I mean, that it happened quickly. That being said, I mean, I'm always evaluating people. Like, when I'm meeting people, I'm sizing people up, not from a selfish standpoint. I'm just saying, like, if there's something I like about an individual, in my mind, I'm thinking, do they fit in this organization? Could they fit in the organization? Should I stay in touch with them? Will they stay in touch with me? Will they reach out to me? Do they show hunger? Do they show interest? Do they show development? Do they show promise? And I would informally keep in the back of my mind people that I wanted to be in the organization. And I didn't necessarily know if I could get them tomorrow or today, but I knew maybe 2-3 years down the line I could, or maybe 5 years down the line, or maybe 5 months. So I think I was informally building an idea of what this team looked like. Now, again, I didn't think it was going to be a team of 1,200. I didn't think that.
I love it.
But I thought that, hey, this person is good at marketing or community engagement or finance or what have you. And then you meet people along the way. Like Angela, I've known for years. She's been a friend of the family. I thought she would be fantastic, and she's done an outstanding job of leading our community engagement effort.
Yes.
My director of finance was on the accountant side. It was somebody I interacted with through my accountant, and I took her from the accounting firm, right? There was some talent that I at different levels throughout some of our engagements. Some of this talent is closer than we think.
I agree.
Sometimes we engage with people, they're a customer, they're a vendor, they're a friend or whatever, and it's just like I would start picking people up one by one, and it would give me the confidence to continually build the vision and share the vision and see if it would resonate with them. And most of the time, we pride ourselves on having a pretty high retention rate too.
That's awesome.
So it's one thing to get them in the door. It's another thing to retain them, help them grow, develop.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, see them leave and grow. Like there's some people that have left the organization that on very good footing. We try and be supportive of them. Sometimes early on, we didn't necessarily have the growth. Maybe we were 50 people, and sometimes I would lose people or see people leave the organization, but maybe they went to a partner company or a client even, right? Sometimes that would happen, and that would be okay.
Because there's some allyship.
There's some ally. You want to see people grow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we want to covet and hold on and keep them forever. Sometimes you got to let them grow and then come back to the organization that much more well-equipped. And there's some instances on some accounts that we had via Airmark, we would send people to the Airmark side because we got to a stopping point in growth, but there was a developmental opportunity and a next level higher up job that person could take. And we would endorse and bless that. But that's what it's all about, is seeing people live and fulfill their dreams. And then sometimes they come back and they don't. But we have a lot of friends in the organization that have left that we're on great terms with. I was at Chicago Public Schools today. It's an account that we've done food service management with alongside of Airmark. And I saw 5 people that were with my organization that are now with Chicago Public Schools.
That's incredible.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is you actually want people in those organizations that are from your team.
Absolutely.
Right? Guess what? It helps you maybe retain the business as well, right? Or grow in the business if you got people that you've worked with and alongside of. So that's, to me, what it's all about.
I think it's huge because I believe in that motto, and I think I'm surrounded around that because honestly, you have to allow for talent to grow and be in other spaces. And sometimes they'll come back to you, right, in that space.
You're listening to Black Businesses Matter, and we will continue our conversation in a second. But first, take a listen to this special message for our BBM fam.
We know how important it is to stay connected, so why not join our BBM Fam Club for special announcements and exclusive offers by texting BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 today. Now let's get back to Black Businesses Matter.
But I've always said this, you know, in building this podcast, is the reason why I built it was because really Black businesses are the largest employers of Black people.
Absolutely.
And so when you take us as a unit, right, then you're powerful. So alignment is easy, right? So you being able to align with those big organizations, you had something they wanted too.
Absolutely.
You had the talent that they couldn't have, right? So the question that I have is, on a capacity standpoint, right? When you got those contracts, you've got to make sure you deliver on that capacity of being able to do that work, right? So when businesses or as business owners, as we're scaling, what, you know, like at that moment, do you call your 5 friends and be like, hey, I need y'all just jump in here and pretend like you're the CPA, you're the CPA, you're the director of finance.
One of the pastors was talking about this on a podcast. His name escapes me, but he was talking about how resourceful we are of creating our own hustle, right? With all due respect, right?
Yep.
Like we can wing it, we can be a 1 or 2 man show, and we can get by. But there's going to be some inflection point where we can't do everything in the organization.
That's right.
We can't be chief marketing officer, head of finance, legal team, etc. There's only so far you can grow. And with all due respect, I am not knocking any 2-person organization. I'm not doing that. The point he was making is sometimes we got to be willing to invest in our own infrastructure to get to that next level. And don't get me wrong. I mean, all those employees, you don't think that sometimes I'm looking at the numbers like, oh, we can cut 10% and we can have more profit, right? Or whatever the number is. But at the same token, that puts more responsibility and pressure on the proprietors of the business to do everything. So I need to have directors to do stuff so I can go out and hunt and build the business and do client relations and what have you. So a lot of times, you know, there's an inflection point of when do we double down and bet on ourselves? And we have to ask ourselves, for everybody, that's a different answer. But for me, I wanted to really build a company. You know, I could get by and make money. Like, I think, you know, I could get by, but I really wanted to stand for something and build something of substance and quality that we could be in the room with 4 or 5 different Fortune 100 companies, and they see people that look like us, and they have to respect us because the work speaks for itself. But early on, I remember being on several calls. Right, where you would have to fake it till you make it.
That's right.
It would be.
I say faith it till you make it.
It would be me, and could be Angela, could be Matt, my director of operations, and then you start to sense it out, right? You get little telltale signs when there's a call that goes out and there's a distribution of 12, and there's only 3 people on your side. You said there's going to be 9 people on the other side. Those numbers don't look great. I remember as recent as maybe a couple deals ago, when we won the Guinness business from Diageo would have 10 people on the call. And I didn't want to ramp up the business because, you know, there's always this, when do you ramp up? When do you start adding resources if you haven't won the business yet? Thankfully, there was income coming in that I could have some people working behind the scenes, but you're not just trying to throw money away. But I remember hiring as a consultant a gentleman who was a very senior level person at Aramark, who was a sales guy, and one other individual. And I said, can I hire you guys to work on this initiative? And if we're successful, we could talk about if there's an opportunity for you. And surprisingly, both were like, absolutely. So they sat in as kind of acting senior managers on the call. They were very well versed, et cetera. I think, truthfully, that kind of gave us the edge that they didn't see just me, right?
Yep.
They know me. They talk to me multiple times. They want to know who else is on your team.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
who else do you have?
Absolutely.
Can you attract talent
Yeah.
of people that look like you, the same background as you, or same, experience level, or quite different, et cetera.
Yeah.
But can you just bring on talented people? And sometimes we don't have those resources internally, but we can bring them on a temporary basis. We can pay them a consulting fee. We can pay them an hourly fee to be seamless, right? So that call where there was 9 people, we actually had 6 or 7 on our side. That's a different call than having 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the tricks that I learned along the way is sometimes you got to, again, there was relevance. I just didn't pick somebody, that didn't have any experience. This is somebody
But somebody that was vested in you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That also believed in our vision.
Correct.
That believed in what we had done.
Correct.
And it turns out the one gentleman, when we won the business, it turns out he got another job anyway, but we still kept that relationship going.
Mark, one thing that I love about, where you've placed yourself, and just even as I, did my digging, you've also maintained this position as a community leader. And I think I want to ask you, is that really important for you and significant as a business owner, is making sure that you are serving in that space? Yeah,
we want to even do more. Absolutely. I mean, that's just kind of who I am.
Yeah.
Is balance, giving back. We want to do more. Yeah. We've been fortunate enough to work with several organizations. Angela, in her role, oversaw. A lot of times you get businesses that come in, they don't know the lay of the land here. So we were actually able to get Aramark on a good footing and identify over 100 community organizations. And Angela spearheaded spending that money for almost a decade. In addition to that, we have our own initiatives that we support. Every year or two, we look to add more, look at refreshing, et cetera. We did a big effort with Hugs No Slugs with Inglewood Barbie. She goes out and feeds those
I did that with Angela.
Homes.
Yes.
I met her. I was kind of following her from afar, and asked a buddy of mine to introduce her, and we actually met over here at Jog Grill, and she told me what she was working on, and I said, "Look, can we, support and feed those without homes for a year?" Yeah. And she literally broke into tears there. We said we do $26,000, and it was like $312. The $312 had significance because she gave me that. I said, "How much does it cost to feed the friends?" as she calls them, for the whole term of the program? And she gave me this number. She's like, "It was $26,312." I said, "Well, we're gonna do $26,312." So, yeah. I mean, it's moments like that. Like, if you can't physically do the work, what we can do is get behind those people that do, right? And one thing about her, I wasn't trying to change who she was. I respect her with total respect, and I was just amazed at her physically living out on the street, working with the unhoused one by one, changing lives. And I said, "Look, if I can't be out there with you, the least we can do is write a check and support." So we, initiatives like that, we really love to get behind, and we want to continue to do more of that.
So I have to ask you this, because we're going to allow for folks to ask questions to you. But I do want to ask you this, because we do ask this question to every guest. Why do Black businesses matter?
I mean, as you said it, we're the best employer of our people, period. I mean, nobody employs more of us. Nobody understands us more. Nobody can do it better than we can do it. That's it. And if we go away, then it's not going to be pretty.
It's not, right?
It's not going to be pretty.
Even when we think about the political climate, right?
Yeah.
You know, how do we stand in this place as entrepreneurs in this political climate as Black proprietors, owners, entrepreneurs, business leaders?
Yeah.
How do we stand in that?
Look, I mean, it's no secret that there's been a major shift and change in the administration. I think at the end of the day, we got to put something out there that's quality, you know, that leads with the product first. Everybody knows what color we are, right? We don't need to announce that. But if you got something they want, if you got something of value, if you got something that is a quality product or service, stand on it, and companies will recognize it, you know. Unfortunately, there are programs that are and have been stripped that would aid in that effort.
Yeah. But
we're resilient. You know, we got to figure it out. We can't be, you know, up in arms, and it is what it is. The damage is done, and the administration's there. We got to figure out how to embrace it, if at all possible, and fight for what we know. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think one of the best ways is just putting out a good product, and good work speaks at the end of the day.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
This is where the audience gets to participate and ask questions. So take out your phones, and you can text us, and it's 312-300-1300. I love threes. I love the number 3. 312-300-1300 and type question. Katori, who is my wonderful associate producer, is also helping you. She's going to also bring a tent card for you. You can ask a question. It's going to ask you, what is your question? And then it'll be fed to me, and we can ask this question, because we certainly want this to be an opportunity for people to, like, connect
Absolutely.
with you and engage with you. And we found this to be very impactful. 312-300-1300, you type in question, okay? And so as folks are typing in, putting in their questions, one of the things I want to bring up is this joint venture in the airport concessions, because I think that is huge. If you haven't paid attention to Hyde Park Hospitality, you need to. If you haven't, you need to, because they are in Denver with the concessions, Dallas, New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Chicago. I mean, that is huge. And so you coming from Chicago, going into the airport concession, what was that journey? Like, what was that?
Ooh, that was a big learning curve.
Okay.
That was a big learning curve, yeah. The airport is just a beast. I mean, it's its own kind of world. Very different from the street where we had restaurants. There's barriers to entry that you have to get the certification. There's complexities because of the lack of the space. The cost to play and build an airport is much higher than on the street.
Wow.
And there are nuances. They say if you've been in one airport, you've been in one airport. Each airport is completely different than the next. Yeah. So there was the learning curve was crazy first coming in. Actually, maybe it was second deal in where we tried to take on a bigger slice of pie. We actually lost money. All deals in airports aren't great deals, but it takes a while to sift through and learn where your lane is, where you feel like you can make a dent, where you feel like you can make some money. We kind of did a little land grab on a deal where we thought we were gonna win, and turns out the employments weren't there. The seller sort of overpromised some of the things that they said were offered in the particular locations. And I kept good relations with the seller. It was a big concessionaire. And I could have complained and, been a thorn in their side. But I tried to keep good relations and remind them that what we bought is not necessarily what we got. Now, we had to mitigate the loss of money and manage through it. And I was able to keep, again, those good ties with that regime. And after almost having a deal before COVID that fell apart post-COVID, I was able to bring it back to life after COVID and have them buy it back from me at the cost that I paid for it.
Oh, wow.
Which is
that's awesome.
Hard to do.
Yeah.
Hard to do. Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Mark.
So a lot of this is some of this perseverance, persistence, keeping an even keel, not burning down the house, burning the bridges.
Yeah. Yeah.
We stayed the course. I'm really proud of that, because we didn't know a lot going in, and I thought it was a relatively good deal, and man enough to admit that it didn't turn out like we thought, but we saw it all the way through and got our money back on the back end. But it took.
Awesome. I was gonna say, how long did that take?
Man, this is at least 5 years.
Wow.
At least 5 years. Yeah.
That's important to say.
5
years. Sometimes we don't know. No,
sometimes we could have wrote it off.
Right.
And I kept.
Right.
Now, we also had something they wanted, in that they wanted to come to Chicago and look at possibly playing here, and I would remind them of me being a potential avenue. So that helped too. Yeah. But I didn't burn that bridge.
You didn't burn that bridge. We got some great questions.
Fire away.
Yeah. Number one, and they said amazing conversation.
Thank you.
So I like to hear that. What's the best way for small businesses to engage as a potential vendor for Hyde Park Hospitality?
Just reach out. Depends on the service.
Okay.
Depends on the product.
Is that an email? Is that a LinkedIn?
That's LinkedIn is great. Email is great. Angela's here.
I was gonna say Angela's who y'all probably need to talk to. She's right here.
We may or may not have what people are looking for, but if we don't, we can direct. We're not trying to push you up a lot. Sometimes we buy certain products. Sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
But we're always willing to try and help people. That's what it's about.
So he said email, he said LinkedIn, and he said Angela. So I'm going to give y'all all those three to make sure, but it's really Angela. Hospitality is evolving rapidly from AI-driven experiences to the demand for more intentional community-focused spaces. This is someone who works in corporate events and hospitality. I'm always thinking about how to evolve and stay ahead. What do you think will separate the businesses that thrive in this new era from those that struggle to adapt?
Fantastic question.
That's a great question, Alicia. Great question.
Look, I'm on this side watching as well. Like, it's going to have an impact on our industry. We see it starting to eventually have an impact on the back of the house. You'll see, robots, cooking food, and there could be some interaction at the guest, at the counter, at the concierge level. I do think there's going to continue to be a human element, but with labor costs continuing to rise, it's becoming harder and harder for restaurateurs to make a good buck. And unfortunately, technology is going to continue to play in the space. Mm-hmm. So I think time will tell. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be on the forefront of it. We pride ourselves on providing jobs, physical jobs. But some of that could be uprooted to some degree over time, and not tomorrow, but, AI and robots and automation, et cetera, could infringe on that. So we can either accept it and embrace it or, ignore it. Yeah. But I think change is imminent.
Yeah, it is.
And I think we're going to try and be on the forefront of it. But great question. Both of those are great questions.
Great questions. Can you go back to the exit strategy topic? Do you now approach most of your business ventures keeping the end in mind? That's a great question too.
Yes and no. It's funny. I was having a conversation, not a detailed conversation about that. It does come up in the back of my mind at some point. There may be an exit. I don't know when that is. I'm not thinking about it, but I mean, look, it should be factored in. I think it's a reality. Mm-hmm. It could be getting acquired by somebody else. Could be selling. Could be, transitioning to family. Whatever, that transition happens at some point. So I think we should be honest about that. Again, I think that exit strategy is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. Some want a 2-year, two in and out. Some want, I want to hold this forever, pass it on to my kids. Some are, I just want to, cash flow this thing. So it really is really a personal decision. I think about it. I'm not planning to do it just yet, but informally, I'm thinking about steps and things that need to happen in order for that to happen at some point. Mm-hmm.
So there is some level of a plan, but no necessarily when that
absolutely.
Timeline. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Someone says, I admire your commitment to creating opportunities in underserved markets. In your experience, what has been the most effective way to make a real lasting impact in these spaces beyond just checking the D&I box?
Read the last part of the question again.
So in your experience, what has been the most effective way to make a real lasting impact in these spaces beyond just checking the D&I box?
I mean, look, outside of being an employer, reinvesting back into your team members, right? Whether that be development, support of whatever initiatives he or she has going on. Creating the opportunity is one thing. We also try and develop that individual. And again, sometimes it comes to an inflection point of they reach their point with us.
Yeah.
And sometimes the next best thing is to be a supportive of whatever that initiative is and say, hey, well, we lost a gentleman that had been with us 5 years recently, and he was just burnt out. We started to see some impact in his productivity, and it kind of came to that inflection point where he told us he was burnt out, and we didn't have anything else at the time. Mm-hmm. So we were supportive of him looking for another job elsewhere, and he's a friend. Mm-hmm. He's an advocate. We're supportive of him, and our paths may cross again later down the line. We were at the point where we didn't have to transition him. Mm-hmm. We were able to carry him on, but we started to see a little slippage in his work. But we gave him that kind of graceful exit that in some instances you're able to do. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes our folks don't cut it, and you got to be serious about the business and put the business first.
Yeah.
I've had to make a number of unfortunate layoffs over time. And terminations. That's just, unfortunately, that happens.
And it's. I remember a mentor telling me that you want to, not that he was saying get into a layoffs, but you got to be comfortable with letting people go.
Absolutely.
And
some people just don't fit the mold, don't fit the vision, the timing's off, et cetera. Yeah. You can't be afraid to make that transition.
Yeah, but it's hard.
It's hard, but it's oftentimes warranted.
Yeah. Another person just said, and I want to talk about the airport lounges, but I'm going to go to this question and we'll go to the airport lounges. Great interview, very informative. During your tenure as a successful Black business owner, what steps do you see is needed for more Black business owners to partner together in order to reestablish a Black Wall Street in today's business environment? I'm going to pause for just a second, Mark, and I want you to say this. The idea of this podcast is for collaboration. So when you hear an episode, connect with somebody else on the other side that you were on to create that collab. That was the whole purpose, is to create collaborations. Yeah. And we've had people that were on our podcast, heard another podcast, and they got together and collaborated together because we don't know who to connect to. So that was the platform. So I'll give you the question again if you need me to.
Yeah, please.
During your tenure as a successful Black business owner, what steps do you see is needed for more Black business owners to partner together in order to reestablish a Black Wall Street in today's business environment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we collaborated enough, to be honest with you.
I don't think so either.
I don't. In the airport space, it's all about collaboration.
Yeah.
You know, it's rare that you'll do a deal solely on your own. Most of the deals I'm in are partnerships. And some of the larger deals are partnerships with very large entities, multi-billion-dollar, publicly traded entities. The beautiful thing about the ACDB program, Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, is it actually forces big business to partner with small business. And there's a referee. A lot of times, if I did a deal on the street with whomever, company X, I can do a deal, but who's gonna ref that? Who's gonna say who's right, who's wrong, et cetera? You have an agreement, but let's be honest. Sometimes the big boys can just, or big girls, gals, can, organizations can take control. The beautiful thing about the airport space is there's usually a kind of a uniform body that serves as the ref between big business and small business. And there's something called an operating agreement. And in the operating agreement, it specifies what your role is and what their role is. And then there's triggers in there. If you don't do this, then such and such can take this over, et cetera. I mean, there's all these different triggers. And then there's an outside party that makes sure that the equity, the ownership, is commiserative of the role. So you can't own 10% and do 90% of the work, or you can't own 90% and do 10% of the work. So I remember going before Dallas, and we had won a piece of business there, and we had to go before this body, and they wanted to look at the operating agreement. And my partner, the bigger company, didn't have a lot of experience in this particular dealing with Dallas. And they got granular on the operating agreement. We were doing page turns, and they were like, wait a minute, you know, Hyde Park is doing, in this operating agreement, you have them doing 40% of the work, but only 20% of the equity. So they made us go back to the drawing board to reset and rebalance the scale. That often doesn't happen on the street. But in this airport environment, in this particular instance, it did happen. So they were serving as, again, this conduit, this kind of unbiased party that was serving as the balance, the scale, if you will. So again, 90% of the deals that we do are joint ventures. And we've taken it a step further of doing joint ventures with people like ourselves. The Chick-fil-A, we just opened first Chick-fil-A at O'Hare Airport. Yep. We brought in a African-American woman who was a licensee for the brand, and we could have bid it on our own, but I wanted to bring in somebody that, one, had the license in another market, and two, looked like me. Yep. So we did an all ACDB deal, the first of its kind. Nice. Where all black and brown people own the first Chick-fil-A at O'Hare, right?
So, I love that.
No, I could have taken that deal. One, we could have did it alone.
Yep.
But two, we could have taken it to a big prime concessionaire. Yep. But we didn't do it.
That's dope.
And there's probably 3 other deals like that where we've done from small business or ACDB to ACDB.
Yeah.
All right.
How important is licensing and getting these certifications?
Oh, it's
critical.
You know,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I believe that, but I think a lot of times people believe this, that when they get the certification, that means they're going to get the business. And I said, it's just your calling. It's just your card. Yeah. So when you get the business,
you can have the certification, but then you have to prove to the brand,
correct,
that you can operate the brand. Mm-hmm. And then that goes back to your track record, your history. right? You're always telling a story about yourself, right?
Every day.
You're always telling a story and building these pages in the story. So I could refer back to my years of working for my dad on the line, and then he had me working a McDonald's with franchisees, and then, so there's all this experience that built up over time.
Yeah.
The other thing I was remiss in talking about too was along the journey, we had a banking relationship, which was important. Wasn't all the capital we needed, but it was definitely some.
You had the existing relationship before you had to call them,
I'm
right?
saying along the way, going back to our wireless days, we had Northern Trust, who then was really active and wanted to do more in Black and brown communities. As we moved down the line into restaurants, et cetera, it was Bank of America. And today, it's Wintrust, right? Wintrust stepped up. But going back to that business plan, right? First thing you want to see is the business plan. So that business plan travels from realtors to potential equity sponsors, investors in your business, to the bank, to the client. It just traveled. Now, again, it wasn't the same one. I would edit it over time. But having a banking partner is important, even if it's a small line of credit. There are programs out there that support small business.
Absolutely.
There's way more programs than when I was starting. There's a Chicago Neighborhood Opportunity Fund that's giving money away on the city level. There's other things that are out there. So a lot of this is exploring, finding out where the capital is. And then once doing that, always having a banking institution behind you, even if it's a small line, is always a good sign that somebody else is believing in your vision.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you want to stack the deck of, who's on your advisory committee, who's on your board, who do you bank with. You're telling a story. And the more you can tell that story and show that there are 10 or 12 other people believing in it, going back to that call where I had those two other people that joined, three people that joined the call, when I showed strength in a group of 7 versus a group of 9, as opposed to just having 2 people on the call, again, there's 5 other people that believed in the vision.
That's awesome.
Right?
And I think what you're saying is we got to have that relationship. You have to have a banking relationship. I believe that before
Absolutely.
you need it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you want to do it, but you want to have that relationship built in.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do want to ask as we wrap up, because you're doing these airport concessions and these business owners are flying, I know everybody gets on flights, okay? Everybody is catching flights. How can we support in the lounge space, so that people can know, go visit, what can we do to make sure?
We opened, look, you can obviously visit our locations while you're traveling.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is in the Delta Terminal.
Okay.
Terminal 5.
Okay.
At Midway, we opened the first common use lounge there. The lounge is called The Club.
And someone just told me that they had just literally was like, I just walked past that. I didn't know that was Mark. So I just want you to know that.
Some people were like, what? Look, it's our lounge, but our Airport Dimensions is our partner. They built the lounge.
Yeah.
We manage the lounge.
Yeah,
right?
but
so But we're there.
Yeah,
all
there.
the employees are our employees.
Absolutely.
So those are 2 in Chicago. We also have 5 or 6 concepts, food concepts in Chicago at the C Concourse at United. We have
United
Salad
O'Hare.
Works, United O'Hare, Salad Works, Mantua, another concept called Zoots, and then we have a couple other concepts in Terminal 3.
Nice.
Guinness on the street here in Chicago. I'm an investor in Virtue. Not active. I'm just a passive investor, but I love to support Virtue, who in my opinion was the Park 52, but took it to the next level.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, they didn't have the same setup we have.
Yeah.
They didn't have the bar scene we have because it's a much smaller footprint.
Yep.
But in terms of elevated food at the highest level, I would put them at the top of the food chain, and that's one of our own. We have
that's impressive.
Some incredible resources here in Chicago, whether we're involved with it or not. I think it's just supporting local Chicago business is always a great thing.
It is. And I think it's important that we talk about it so that people are aware and to know that these businesses are run, whether they're owned, managed, whatever, somebody that's brown was a part of it. And I think that's important for us to know. As we wrap, we asked this question, and it's funny. I just looked up here and I said, we've been asking this question. So I want you all to know that this is my 3rd year doing this podcast. We've had over 100
Congratulations
episodes.
to you.
Thank
and
y'all.
the magazine, the
I
mag,
know, and then the
congratulations.
magazine. And
Yeah.
I don't know what's next, but what I know for sure is I will continue to stand for us no matter what.
Yeah.
As long as I got breath inside of me, that I will stand for us by any means necessary. And one of the things that I learned in this podcast was that we've never been able to showcase our Black joy, that we talk about the struggle. You know, that's part of our stories, right? And so it was a guest of mine, and she shared with me how Black joy is a luxury because people don't share what really brings them joy because they're moving, they're hustling, they're doing the things that to build this business, but just to be able to pause and ask this question. So we ask, what brings you joy?
Wow. You know, I've been lucky enough I have 2 older daughters, and I got remarried and have a 3.5-year-old. So I got 3 girls. Pray for me. But, you know, going back through fatherhood again is as tough as it is, because this girl, she jumps off the stage. She's active, Mila Ray. But to see her, the growth and development, the curiosity, the retention of knowledge, just all of the things that go in with being a father. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about, right? It's like, I'm going to be all right, but it's what can I leave behind, whether, you know, not the things, but the love and the experiences, the moments. For me, it's just really enjoying family, you know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I recognize that part of the reason why we don't share joy is because many times, right, we are working so hard that we miss out on those
miss
joys.
out on those moments.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
I remember back at 29, 30 when I had my first daughter Aliyah and my middle daughter a couple years later, Carly. You miss out on those moments, right? You're out grinding, et cetera, and running. So I'm still running, just a different way, and it goes back to building that infrastructure, right?
Yep.
Making sure that we're investing in our own businesses and not being afraid to bring on other people into the organization, because you're really making an investment in your business, which ultimately is going to help you balance your life as well.
Is there anything that's next for Marc Brooks?
Ooh, you know, I've thought about. I've purposely remained off, as I call it, the street.
Yeah, you have.
For a reason, and there have been opportunities, plenty of them. I don't know what the timing is, but I came across something that might be interesting. That would be sort of different and innovative in the space. It's not going to be tomorrow.
Okay.
But it piqued my interest a little bit. I haven't had that, you know, that look in a while.
Yeah.
So it could be something that is a few years down the line.
Okay. So let's make sure we keep our eyes on Marc Brooks, because there's something that's coming that might be different from what you currently are doing, which I think is amazing.
Absolutely.
This has just been a joy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you.
Oh my gosh.
This is fantastic. And again, congrats to you and all your success. And 3 years is nothing to sneeze at. And you got the shiny magazine.
And this magazine, guys, this is just gorgeous. And I just want to say that part of the reason why this happened, and I'll share this, is because I was away on a trip for business in the mountains, and I said, I miss Ebony. I miss getting on the bus and watching those covers and those issues and just seeing myself someday. Yeah. And so sometimes you get so angry that you decide, why don't I create it? Right? Yeah, and so I created it to be able to be that. So you will never see my face on it. So just know that. That is not who I am. But the beauty of this is, and I just have to say, is that I have an incredible team. and they are here. So
Fantastic.
the masterminds, Megan, wave your hand, is responsible for this beautiful cover. And Katori Shepard, who's my associate producer. So I don't do this by myself, all right? I want to be clear, but there's a team. And when you open this book to this page and you see this squad, that I had to have a squad to be able to do this masterpiece.
Congratulations to
thank
you and your team.
Thank you. Thank you to my audience. It's a joy for me to have to come out of the studio and actually be in a place. And normally it's just me, the audio engineer, and Katori. So just to have the energy is kind of cool. I will say this, we're trying to do more of this and being able to have these intimate gatherings where we can have this. So more to come on that, but this has just been a joy, Mark. So thank you for saying yes.
No, thank you. And thank you for being persistent, because I know the calendar didn't work out.
Thank you for saying that.
She stayed with it.
I was like, can we do this? Can we do this? So
she stayed with the dates, and it worked out. So thank you again for the opportunity.
So I just want to say to my listeners, thank you all for rocking with us. I think this is an episode that you may want to share with your family members. One of the things that we are doing is called hosting. So getting your family together and listening to an episode and talking about it. That's what we want to see more. Like hearing a story, hear that story, talk about it. So you can have your own little BBM host gatherings and tell us about it. And we want to be able to share that on the podcast. So if you want to do that, please keep texting us to 312-300-1300, and you can put hosting if you want to host something in your home and share it with us. So thank you guys. Thank you to my audience. Thank you to my supporters. Thank you to my listeners. I appreciate you all. And once again, we'll see you back next week for another episode of Black Businesses Matter. See you next week. Oh my gosh, this was amazing.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.